Agriculture in Australia has always been a place of innovation, with farmers striving to do things differently, better, cheaper and easier. But one of the problems is many entrepreneurs can't get local investors to back them and are forced offshore to get a start. An Agricultural Technology Innovation and Investment Forum was held in Toowoomba this week, and the guest speaker was Michael Dean, one of the co-founders of the US-based company AgFunder. The Australian lawyer, who's now based in San Francisco, says while there are plenty of good ideas in Australia, he's disappointed with the small number of agtech deals being done. The delegates at the Agtech Investment Forum came from different worlds. Venture capitalists, scientists, farmers, a small group from the Beijing Academy of Ag Science, even a local electrician curious about the jobs of the future.
Today's theme and what we do at TSB.
Organiser Ben Lyons says the day was a fire starter to put ideas people and money people in the same room. The hope? More start-up companies, whether they're developing agricultural apps, computer software or machinery, will develop into commercial businesses.
The investment community has been a challenge because it's quite small in Australia. So we have about 10 or 12 investors, which probably we think represent around 50% of that actual community that exists in Australia.
The forum title, 400M, sounds a bit odd, but it stands for three things. The 400 million hectares of arable land in Australia, a growing middle class in China of 400 million plus, and $400 million, which Ben Lyons wants to see invested in agtech in the Asia Pacific. Is that possible? That's a big number.
I don't think it's actually that big a number. I think the amount of finding capital is becoming a little bit easier with today's. The world's become a smaller place. Free trade agreements between Northern Asian countries like China, Korea and Japan, they are looking and they have policies, particularly in China, that are looking at investing and becoming involved in agricultural supply chains. Food security is paramount for a country like China, so they have strategic funds available into this space.
But innovation requires investment, which is notoriously hard to find in Australia. Sam Trethewey works for SproutX, a new ag innovation hub backed by the National Farmers Federation. He says too often Australians with good ideas can't get financial backing here and are forced overseas.
It happens all the time. Unfortunately, we don't have the ecosystem or the support network here in Australia to bring them in and give them mentors and advice or even capital. So unfortunately, they go over to places like America or Israel, where they have a very vibrant agritech sector.
He says New Zealand has left Australia in its wake, and SproutX wants to turn that around. He's inspired by The Yield, a Tasmanian company now backed by Bosch.
They're the biggest sensor manufacturer in the world, and they're aggressively moving into agriculture, which is really, really wonderful. So they've backed Roz and her business with millions of dollars, where they're testing the environment for oyster production. So that's fantastic news.
Global investment in agtech boomed in 2014, but Australia is missing out.
Australia has stepped back a bit, I think, and we've had a legacy of great agricultural innovators. I think we need to step back in, and this is where this event's heading.
Australian-born US-based Michael Dean was the star of the forum. He co-founded the US-based AgFunder, the world's only online investment platform dedicated to ag and food technologies. It matches start-up companies with investors.
Of the 15 campaigns that we've closed on the platform, the companies have raised over $33 million to date. We have over 2,500 registered investors who are accredited investors.
Michael Dean says the last 2 years has seen huge growth in agtech investment.
Globally, US companies dominated agtech with 303 deals in 2015, followed by India with 64 and Canada with 25. Total venture dollars in the US, $2.2 billion. For Australia, we recorded a disappointing 6 agtech deals with a total of $4.8 million invested. We've got to do something about that.
He hopes the forum will lead to more startups getting out of the starting gates. Michael Dean, welcome to Landline.
Thanks, Pip. Good to be here.
How big is the world market for Agritech?
Well, last year about $4.6 billion was invested in Agtech. That was a 93% jump on the year before, so it's really gaining pace. Whilst it's not a big market, it only accounts for about 4% of global venture investment, but it's gaining pace.
So what sort of companies do you look at?
We look at companies across the entire ag and food value chain, basically. Everything from food e-commerce, which basically is packaged meals or farmer to consumer type delivery services, right through to drones, through to sensors, irrigation, the whole spectrum of the ag value chain.
So how many companies pass the Ag Funder test?
Of the 1,700 companies we've reviewed since we started 2 years ago, we've only brought on 20 companies onto the platform. It's a very fragmented market because where the work's going on is not where the money is. There's no Silicon Valley for Agtech, no one place you can go to meet a whole load of investors. So we wanted to create a hub where people could come and find Agtech opportunities and invest if they wanted to. So that was the whole reason behind starting Ag Funder.
What sort of ideas are dominating?
The biggest investment targets are definitely food e-commerce. So these packaged meals delivery services, particularly in the US. We've seen some big investments in China and in Europe as well. They make up the bulk, probably about a bit over a third of all venture investing last year. Other areas are irrigation, sensor market, and precision agriculture as well.
Can you tell us about some Ag Funder success stories?
Sure. There's been a few. We had a company on our platform called Aware, who are basically a big data company providing information to farmers in emerging markets. They came on to Ag Funder looking for $4 million, and we ended up getting them almost 2 times oversubscribed, twice the amount they were looking for from investors.
Where does Australia fit into the world agri-tech investment market?
In a very small way at the moment. From the best we can tell last year, there was only about $4.8 million invested in Agtech in Australia across 6 deals, which is very disappointing globally.
Are you surprised?
I am surprised. It's a little bit disappointing. I think there's been a lack of government support for innovation in Australia to date. I'm hoping things are changing. But there's also a lack of the investment in infrastructure. In order to have a good startup culture, you need to have those layers of infrastructure for investors. So you need to have the angels, which are the high net worth individuals who are willing to take a punt on early stage opportunities. And you also need the venture capitalists, the VCs, who invest across, depending on the stage that they're interested in, they can invest right from early seed right through to Series C, Series D.
Do we have them and they don't know how to connect, or do they just not exist?
They're here, they're definitely here, but I just think Agtech is a fairly nascent market. The median age of Agtech companies that were funded last year was less than 3 years old, so it's still a very early space.
Are there good ideas coming out of Australia?
Yeah, there's tons of good ideas. There's lots of good ideas. We're doing great work in robotics, we're doing great work in data analysis, great work in sensors, drones as well. The problem that we're seeing is that these companies have to go overseas to get funding.
You're an Australian. Are you disappointed by that? Does it make you sad?
It's just a fact of life. It's the way things are. Australia is a small market as far as population goes, so it makes sense that there's going to be a lot more tiers of investors over in a market like the US.
The Green Revolution in the 60s was the last time ag had a big increase in yield and productivity. Some people are saying the agri-tech market could give ag that next long-term kick. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I believe so, absolutely. I think it's the only way we're going to start to see yields increasing again. They've been decreasing in real terms over the last couple of decades, so that's the only way we're going to do it with technology.
How is the agri-tech sector regarded by investors around the world?
I think it's viewed positively. I think we're, as I said, it's early days. It's very, very early days. So we haven't had any major exits apart from when Monsanto purchased Climate Corp in 2013, and that was, I think, the first ag-tech unicorn, as they call them in Silicon Valley. After that, we saw an uplift in interest, and ag-tech became sort of on the broader radar of investors. But it is still early days. There's a lot more that needs to happen.
What's an ag-tech unicorn?
An Agtech unicorn is a company worth over $1 billion.
Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, so there's a company called Climate Corporation who started out as an insurance product, allowing farmers to predict what the weather was and to buy insurance along those lines. Climate Corp was purchased for $930 million by Monsanto.
So an exit is a good thing?
An exit is a good thing because all of those investors in Climate Corp, obviously, when they were paid out pro rata on their investment amounts when Monsanto purchased it.
Can rural and regional businesses and entrepreneurs be agile and innovative without good internet?
No. You can't get adoption. We need to have internet on the farms. The farmers need to be able to access their data. They need to be able to get their data, and they can't do that without internet. It's impossible. Well, I think it needs to be fixed. It's appalling.
Could the next Apple or Google in Agritech come from Australia?
Absolutely. We're a smart nation. There's no reason why not.
Michael Dean, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Pip.